What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Yankees Avenue Show on the Yankees Avenue YouTube channel. As usual, I'm Patrick Hennessy. That's Dan Work. Dan, how we doing on this snowy Tuesday morning?
Bro, I was doing good till I sat down, got ready for the show. My microphone, as I'm sure you guys realize by now, listening at home, is not working. So excuse my poor audio today. Yes, we are getting snow. I know you're future predicting because they're seeing this on Tuesday, but right now it's a Monday night, and the Yankees are about to play a spring training game, right? And I'm about to have an experience I've never had before, Pat. I'm gonna watch a
What is it?
baseball game with snow pouring down outside my window. Like that might be pretty cool. So I'm looking forward
Nah,
to
you
that,
had
bro.
to have experienced that before.
No, I don't think so. When would I have though? Like, I
I
guess
don't
we've had
know.
March snow before, so
Yeah.
maybe. But from what I can remember, this is gonna be a first. So I'm gonna light a candle. I'm gonna make
Okay.
some chickpea gluten-free pasta. I'm gonna have a night pat, maybe two Diet Cokes.
Okay.
Come on,
Okay.
how you doing?
Yeah. You're living life on the edge. I'm doing great. Life's good. Yankees baseball is back. We're inching close to the World Baseball Classic. We're inching close. I was gonna say we're inching closer to warmer weather, but looks like it's colder. But who cares? Life is good. Let's get right to topic number one here. Dan, we're talking about the pitch clock. So in entering the 2023 season, there's now a new pitch clock that I believe pitchers have 15 seconds to throw
Yeah,
in between pitches?
15 with no runners on, and I think it's 20 or
20.
25 with, or yeah,
Yeah,
20 with
I
runners
think
on.
20. So that's new going into the 2023 season. It seems like a lot of people are kind of torn on it, whether or not they like it. And I think me and you are torn on whether or not we like it. So I'll let you go first and kind of give me like where you land on the whole pitch clock argument.
Dude, I'm really not torn at all. Like one, when they announced this as it's coming to the big leagues, even then I didn't think it was really all that big a deal at all. But I will say, I think they could maybe add an additional 5 seconds. But overall, the idea of it, I'm a fan, dude. And shout out to Yes, because they're the ones that got it right. What had me nervous was the first go round of games on Saturday. It seemed like every broadcast that I saw, they would put like a zoomed in big version of like the on field giant clock. And that was distracting. That was annoying because then it kind of
Well,
feels
yes,
like you're
had
watching.
that.
Well, no, Yes only had that when they were kind of explaining because it was their first broadcast on Sunday. So they showed it in the top and the bottom of the first. But the actual in game score bug that they use, that's where they're going to have the pitch clock. And what's great about what Yes is doing is one, it's small. Two, they only show it when it gets down to 7 seconds, I believe. By the second inning, dude, I personally, I know not everybody feels this way. I hadn't even noticed unless I was looking for it, really. So I don't think it's going to be that big a deal. The pace of play is definitely sped up. I don't care about like the game's getting shorter per se. Like if the game's 5 hours to me, that's awesome. It's just about in between there not being as much dead time, which some pitchers in the past haven't had a problem with that, and it's no big deal. And some pitchers also linger, and it's a terrible watch, especially trying to get new fans. So I'm for it, dude. I really am. I just think maybe add a few more seconds to it, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as far as where I stand, I'm not a huge fan of it at all. The way I look at it, right? Baseball, one of the keys of baseball, it's one of the only sports without a clock, right? But I think once you implement the pitch clock, it feels like a much more sped up version of the game that we're used to watching. And me being believe it or not, a baseball fanatic, I love sitting down, watching a game and just like taking in everything that happens. And I think that by implementing the pitch clock to make the games 20, 30 minutes shorter, you're trying to target a demographic that's not going to watch baseball regardless if the game is 2.5 hours or 3 hours. I genuinely, bro, if someone doesn't like baseball as a 3 hour game, they're not going to like it as a 2.5 hour game. And also, I don't know. I just think it's kind of like, I don't think it makes sense. I think it might lead to more injuries with pitchers since they're kind of like speeding up their mechanics a little bit more. We saw kind of how stupid it could be in one of the spring training games. I think it was on the first day of spring training games when a game ended in a tie because a batter was called out on strike three because he wasn't ready in time. I think that there's just so many stupid things that are going to be a result of this. Like, bro, imagine ninth inning of a postseason game. The Yankees are down by 1 run. There's bases loaded. Josh Donaldson takes too long to get ready in the box. Strike three, he's out.
It would be
Like,
him. It would be him.
but
But no,
that's what I'm saying.
I don't think
It's
that
not good for the sport.
I'm not worried about that because this is something I think a lot of people got to understand. There's going to be a transition period. And Manfred himself, baseball's come out and said, like, listen, this isn't necessarily final. While there'll be a pitch clock for sure, they might tweak it a little bit and say add a few seconds. Now, as for the fan, I want to go back to what I said before. I don't think it's about like the length of game. It's about frequency of action. And that's what all these new rules are about, really, right? So I think it's more so of the in between pitches, the game dragging. They want constant action at least as much as possible without it's the pace of play, dude. I think that's really what the difference is here. It's not about length of game, it's the pace of play. And not saying that that's going to like bring in like a whole new herd of fans, not saying that, but I'm sure there were people that have been driven away from the game because just how much baseball can drag sometimes. So all I know is I was able to enjoy these games these past couple of days. Like I don't think even for those like you, for example, Pat, like you're not a fan of the rule, and I respect that, but ultimately it's not going to ruin the baseball watching experience. So if you look at like on a weighted scale, is it going to do more positive than negative? I do think yes.
Yeah, but also at the same time, I just think it was unnecessary. You know what I mean? It's like, bro, they implemented it, like, cool. But I just don't think that it was a necessary thing for them to do. Like, I didn't think that because as a diehard baseball fan, I didn't think that there was any problem with the pace of play. I genuinely didn't, bro. And maybe you could think otherwise. But for example, I saw a video on Twitter before, and it was like, how many times can Jose Altuve hit an inside the park home run before Pedro Baez throws to David Ross in the 2016 NLCS? Bro, I don't care. Like, it's the NLCS it's one of the biggest games of the season. If Pedro Baez, which is an extreme outlier, right? Like, he's one of the guys who took the longest to pitch in maybe baseball history. If he's taken 2 minutes to throw in between pitches, I'm sitting back and I'm watching every second of it, bro.
I disagree. I don't think it is really necessarily an extreme outlier because if that were the case, then these games wouldn't be so much shorter. I
Bro,
mean,
Pedro Baez is an extreme outlier.
sure, but I'm just saying that pitchers taking a long time, I think is more common than pitchers who are quick. If that weren't the case, then the games wouldn't be
But why is
so
there a
much
problem
shorter.
with that?
You know what I'll say? I think it's on MLB's perspective, and I want to give them a little bit of credit for this. They're going all in on changing the game this year. You know, it's obviously not just the pitch clock. You have the shift rules, you have the bigger bases, like I think another thing or two. They're
Love the
really
shift
trying
rule,
to
by the way.
change up the game, and I kind of respected that. Like they're not gradually doing. They're like, this is what's going to happen going forward, and they're kind of going full throttle with it. So, dude, I'm legitimately excited, and props to Rob Manfred. I think we're going to get a better game in baseball this year. I don't know that for sure, obviously. Like I could later admit to being wrong on that, but as of right now, I'm for it, dude. I'm for it.
I'll tell you what, I think I'll be more for it if they give it 5 extra seconds. Like, rather
I'm
than
with
the
you.
pitch clock being like, because, bro, 15 seconds, like, I put my head down the other day when I was watching the Yankee game. I picked it up and it was already like the next half inning. I feel like it's just a little bit too quick. Give it like 5, maybe 10 more seconds, especially it's the first season of it. Like, give pitchers some more time to get used to it. Also, I think that like the strike rule, where if a batter's not ready within the 8-second clock period, I think that's kind of dumb as
That's
well.
dumb. I'm with you on that. Do you see what Evan Longoria said? What he proposed? It
No.
made perfect sense. It was instead of having to be where if the batter's not ready and it's a called strike automatically, just have it be so if the batter's not ready, the pitcher can throw. If it's a strike, it's a
Sure,
strike,
sure.
ball, it's a ball, whatever. I think that would make sense to me. Like,
Yeah.
and also one more thing I do want to say about it. And this is why I think maybe add a few more seconds. They showed a clip of Max Scherzer who was thriving under it because he always works quick, right? But there was something about the way he was going about it. I'll put it in the B-roll where it almost seemed like after he threw a pitch, he was like skipping back to the mound with a little giddy up to immediately throw again. That is where if I notice things like that frequently, that might be a little bit annoying. So
Yeah.
definitely add a few more seconds to it, I think for sure.
Yeah. What one last thing I will say about the rule changes, I'm still upset about how the ghost runner on second base is still a thing in the postseason. It's like you're changing all these not in the
I know what you
postseason.
mean. They're keeping
Yeah.
it forever, basically, in the
Yeah,
regular
they're
season.
yeah, which is really stupid to me, bro. It makes no sense. That's like one of those things I'll never get behind just because
Yeah,
it's another one of those things where it's like you're trying to shorten the game for what reason? Like,
I'm with
bro,
you
I
on
love
that.
watching 18-inning games if it comes down to it once a season.
That especially, that's where something I would agree with you about gaining, losing fans. A baseball fan who's watching the 10th inning is probably watching no matter
Yeah.
what. So you're not losing anybody there. You're not gaining anybody. I don't like it. I hate it. I think it devalues walk-offs. I think it just I lose interest honestly in the game once it goes into
Same.
extra innings. I of course still watch, but it's not as intense as it should be. But players love it apparently. Everybody within baseball loves it and is for it. So from
Bro, because they get home
that
quicker.
aspect,
That's probably why.
and that's fair though, I think. I mean, I'm fine with that one because like I understand why they do it because so many players are for it. From a viewing perspective, though, I can't stand it. For anybody who follows me on Twitter, they know all my rants about fake baseball, bro. I hate fake baseball, but
Well, yeah, but that's the
whatever.
thing. They were interviewing Aaron Boone the other day, and they were asking him about like what the shortened game times are going to mean. He's like, "Oh, well, 30 minutes a day, like quicker to the bus, quicker to the hotel, like whatever." If 30 minutes like saves players from injuries and stuff, bro, so be it.
No,
Like,
it
I don't
might
know.
though. I mean, it might. I'm not saying the 30 minutes thing, but even just say Giancarlo Stanton in the outfield. You have a guy that's working
Maybe.
quick. Giancarlo Stanton in the outfield. There's a guy working quick that might save his legs. He's not just standing there for 5 minutes and then suddenly dashing after a ball. I don't know. I think there's stuff we're
We'll
also not even thinking of that could be benefits or negatives. So there's still like the jury's still kind of out on this one. I feel like,
Yeah.
well, even though I'm saying I'm about it, not
Yeah.
fake baseball, but all the other
Yeah.
stuff.
Let's get into topic number 2 here. This is the Josh Donaldson 2023 season preview, bro. I'm so excited about this one. I texted you on Saturday. I was like, yo, Dan, for Tuesday's episode, we're doing Josh Donaldson. Because I say going into this season, this is one of the guys that I'm most intrigued about by far, because I think that he can be a huge X factor in the Yankees lineup. So Dan, just kind of like give me just an overall preview of what you're looking at in Josh Donaldson this year.
Well, in an insulting way, because you can't talk about his 2022 season without being kind of insulting, but I'm using that to kind of swing it into a positive. He can't be as bad as he was last year. Like, I just don't think that is possible. And I've mentioned this before, but if he simply just changes the approach of not taking a million pitches down the dick, his OPS will probably go up 25 points at least. And he was at a 682 last year. If he can just get back to 720 OPS with the defense, that's a really solid player. But yeah, I know you're a lot more, or at least a little more optimistic about Donaldson than I am. I will agree with you on one thing, though, for sure. I'm definitely intrigued as to what is going to be Josh Donaldson in 2023.
Yeah. I think intrigue is the perfect way to describe Josh Donaldson going in this year. Let's start off with what we think his role is going to be in 2023. Do we think he's going to be the starting third baseman? Do we think he's going to ride the bench? I mean, like where maybe some DH games, like where do you think he's going to fit in the most this year?
I think, Pat, and we're headed this way, so I shouldn't even say think, but it will be a colossal mistake by the Yankees if DJ LeMahieu and Gleyber Torres lose playing time just because the Yankees want to justify the trade with Minnesota last year. And that's where we're headed. We know Josh Thompson's going to be the starting third baseman on opening day. He's going to get a chance to prove himself. Now,
are you sure about that, though?
Yeah, I am. I really do believe the Yankees.
Assuming you think he's going to start over DJ or Gleyber?
I think we're looking at the same situation last year. Now, what that was, Gleyber didn't start opening day, and of course, we all know the deal with the Yankees infield. Just because you're not starting per se on opening day, you're still going to be able to find your way into like 145 games. So in the end, this isn't ultimately going to be a problem, but it's quite obvious the Yankees' best lineup construction this year will come at a point when, say, Volpe and Peraza are both up, and you're going to need that DH spot. That might mean Giancarlo Stanton's in the outfield, and DJ, Gleyber, all them are in the infield, and you're going to need to get a bat in there that's not Josh Donaldson. At least that's what I'm predicting. So to start out the season, third base on opening day, but that's definitely not what I would do, Pat. Definitely not what I would do.
Yeah, I mean, I think his role, I don't know if you could necessarily classify him as like the starting third baseman, but I do think he's going to see a lot of time at third base just because, I mean, we talked about it. We previewed DJ already, right? Yeah. So in the DJ preview, when we were kind of talking about what his role was going to be, I think that the Yankees are going to be very, very cautious with his health, especially because we don't really know like what it was, the toe injury, right? Like we don't know if that he avoided surgery on, we don't know if that's going to linger. We don't know like how he's going to be able to play 162. He's going to probably have some DH games. The Yankees are going to play it very cautious with DJ LeMahieu. So I think that's going to lead to a lot of Donaldson starts. And I think also if Stanton's going to be playing the field more this season, that also opens up DH for Donaldson. And if he's swinging a hot bat, I could definitely see him getting in the lineup in any way possible. So, yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of Josh Donaldson this year, bro.
Yeah, no, I think we're definitely headed that way. What concerns me, though, is that if the Yankees, I don't want to say October lineup, because this could be a problem earlier in the year. Let's say they have a game where they need their A lineup. Does that A lineup have Josh Donaldson in it? Like, say, huge series, I don't know, with the Blue Jays in June, and they decide just because they're paying him all this money and the trade was a pretty big blockbuster, that big game, they're starting Josh Donaldson over DJ LeMahieu. That can't happen because LeMahieu is the better player. And even with Donaldson's elite defense, unless he does have like at least a 720, 730 OPS, which is right around league average these days, he's not a valuable player anymore. I don't care how good his defense is.
Bro. I think it all depends on the situation, right? Like, let's say they're a big series against the Blue Jays in the middle of June. DJ's batting 240, but Josh Donaldson's batting 320. Like, dude, they're going
totally.
with
Well, that's different. I mean,
we can't
absolutely
just assume that he's not providing anything offensively.
Yeah, I feel a little better assuming he won't provide anything offensively than assuming he's batting 320. I will acknowledge there definitely is a world where he bounces back, and that's why it's intriguing. I'm not going to predict that, though. The optimistic fan of me we'll hope for, he's going to bounce back with 30 homers, which we'll get into and some over-under shortly. But I think if you had to predict, you go with Josh Donaldson not being that good again. Not maybe as bad as he was last year, but I can't predict he's going to bounce back and like win comeback player of the year or anything like that.
But also, I wouldn't put it past him.
He's not some, I'm trying to think of an example, but he's 37. So it makes sense that his bat would decline. The bat speed's gone down. The barrel rates have gone down. His expected batting average was 7th worst in the league last year. And it's not some big mystery because the dude's 37 years old. What's a bigger mystery to me is how is his defense still so good? I guess that's kind of a reason to be optimistic, because
usually it's the opposite, right? Like usually the defense falls before the bat does,
which shows he's still definitely in shape. So that's a reason to be optimistic. Read an article about him today. He's best shape of his life, all that kind of stuff. So he's feeling good.
Yo, let's get into some over-unders, because the over-unders are always my favorite part of the previews. Dan, over-under 19.5 home runs for Donaldson this year.
Okay, so health's a big part of this. And I think it kind of goes hand in hand with the question. I'm going to go under, though. I'm going to go with, because I don't have Josh Donaldson being the Yankees starting third baseman by August, or being like an everyday guy in the lineup by August. So with that said, I think we're looking at, maybe over 100 games this year for Donaldson, but I'm going to say probably around 115, 120. I have him probably hitting about 17 homers.
Yeah. And I think what really this depends on is the playing time. If we see Donaldson play in like 130 games this year, I think he easily surpasses 20. I do.
But I mean, I know we don't want to focus too much on last year, but that's what he played 130 last year, and he only hit 15,
I know, but I think but last year was a really down year for him. I think that we see Donaldson return to form this year. I think I'm taking the over. I think he hits over 20 home runs this season. I think he might even, I wouldn't be shocked if he hits like 25 to 30. Genuinely.
30, I think I might be a little surprised, but I see a world where 25 happens. I just, you know what, let me tell you,
definitely possible.
If he does bounce back, then I'm fucking pumped, because remember how excited we were this time last year, whenever we got him, that, this dude, I remember saying it right after the deal went through. I was like, this is like Correa without the cheating, because he has that edge. And, what happened was it ended up being annoying as hell because he wasn't good. But if he is good, suddenly that does play. So we could easily see a total flip of the narrative. Typical like New York stuff that you see with like Julius Randle going on right now. Whereas if Donaldson balls out, he might finish a top 5 Yankee at the end of the year. We don't know. I can't really see that happen.
Yeah, but that's where we kind of flip, because I don't know if you remember, but when the Yankees acquired him, you were like, like
they getting Josh Donaldson, bro. Wow. Donaldson and Kalefa, bro. They're getting Kalefa.
Bro, this guy's gonna be really good. And I was more so like, he's kind of washed. But now I'm looking at it and like, bro, I'm buying low on the Donaldson stock here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would never call you crazy or anybody crazy for saying that Donaldson might bounce back this year. And let's get it clear here. I know you know this, but I'm rooting for it. All Yankee fans should be.
Sure.
We'll get into that, by the way. Yeah, that's what I was kind of going to get into before, but yeah.
Another over-under here. Over-under 1 game started in the 2023 postseason.
Under, kind of for all the reasons I just said, but by October, he won't be the Yankees starting guy. He might be on the roster, so that's why I put games started. I didn't want to say because he could pinch hit, and maybe he'll be a nice bat off the bench. Who knows? But ideally, I'm saying under, because he won't start any games, I don't think.
Yeah, bro, it's really weird, because I think this is really just a prediction on whether or not, I think the question here should be is Donaldson going to have a good season? Yes or no? Because if Donaldson has a good season, yes, he will start a postseason game.
Mm-hmm.
But if not, I don't even think he'll be on the roster. You know what I mean? Because the Yankees won't. And also, I think it depends on the health of the Yankees infield. If DJ LeMahieu isn't healthy come postseason time, Donaldson probably starts a game. If Gleyber Torres gets traded for Brian Reynolds at the trade deadline, Donaldson probably starts a game. So I think that there's so many different variables here. I'm just going to play devil's advocate here. I'm going to say over. I think he starts over 1 game. Also, because I think that the Yankees win the World Series this year. So there's going to be a lot of postseason games. So therefore, I think Donaldson starts at least 2 of them. Yeah, that's the way I'm looking at it.
Going back to my point before, we're just talking about the infielders and finding time for them to play. That's another thing. Some of these guys are going to get hurt, whether that's hopefully not for October, but throughout the year, there's going to be IL stints. So in the end, all this stuff always works. If the Yankees talk about 5 infielders for 4 spots, they'll probably end up needing 7 infielders for 4 spots, which fortunately they have. So yeah, you're right. I mean, if Donaldson balls out this year, then over 1 playoff game, it's kind of like you said, whichever way you're going is determines the way you answer this question, because I don't have Donaldson necessarily having a bounce back year. You do. In your world, he starts a playoff game. Mine, I don't think so.
Yeah. Dan, good Yankee, bad Yankee.
Bad Yankee. Like I said, hope he turns it around. But to be honest, he might be, at least in my era, maybe. I don't even want to compare him to A-Rod right after the biogenesis. I think Josh Donaldson is like the most hated Yankee I've ever seen in my Yankee watching tenure. So
Yeah,
bad Yankee.
yeah. I mean, listen, I'm counting on him to bounce back this year, but as of right now, you just can't say he's a good Yankee. Just from all the stuff from last season. So yeah, I'll say bad Yankee, but I do think that he has tremendous potential that you could even say by May that he could be a good Yankee. All he needs is like one good month. And he just kind of has that personality that I think fans will get behind. And if he produces, bro, I think Yankee fans will consider Josh Donaldson a good Yankee. So I think the only reason he's considered bad right now is because he was severely underwhelming last year. I think that's why
he
he's
was awful.
Yeah,
That's as simple as that. If he's better, he'll be. And this is how it is with every player, bro, in New York. We all know this. If he performs, he'll be cheered. If he doesn't, he'll get booed. And that's it. I think Hicks, by the way, to answer our fifth question from last week, I'm pretty sure somebody said Hicks did get booed. On Sunday.
Yeah.
So
I want to. We'll talk about that, by the way.
And
we'll...
I don't want to say I have a problem with it, but like I really want to emphasize with this point as we close out the Donaldson thing, guys. It's in our best interest that these guys do well. Root for them. Like I said, if come regular season they shit the bed, you want to boo, that's totally fine. But all Yankee fans should be rooting for these guys to do well. I think most are. But for those who aren't,
no. And one last thing I do want to bring up on the Donaldson preview here. I saw this post on Twitter earlier today. He said, "I'm ready to go out there and do what's expected of me. I took the struggles to heart last year." And that's the biggest thing I said all offseason. Josh Donaldson seems like the type of guy who is going to take his 2022 season to heart, and he's going to enter the 2023 season with a vengeance. Now, whether or not he's able to physically put that vengeance out onto the field at the age of 37, time will tell. But I don't have any doubt in my mind that mentally Josh Donaldson has that dog in him.
Definitely. So, and he definitely, and he, without a question, he put in the work this offseason. So
yeah,
there's reasons to be optimistic about Donaldson.
Sure. Yo, let's get into topic number 3 here. This is kind of one of the biggest stories to come out of the Yankees' first weekend of spring training here. Number 2 prospect Jasson Dominguez had an absolute moonshot. It was the first spring training game, right?
Yeah, against the
Saturday.
Phillies on Saturday. Yep.
Yeah. So honestly, Dominguez is what, 19, 20? He
was born in 2003. He's 3 years younger, younger than us.
Crazy, bro. Freaking crazy. But yeah, he should be in AAA at some point this season. How excited are you for Dominguez to come up? I know a lot of people are saying like, yo, maybe he comes up this season. I don't know about all that, but he should be up within the next year or two.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect him to be up this season. But once you get to AAA, I mean, he still has to conquer AA for sure. But assuming he gets to AAA, then the conversation's automatically always open. Like you could crack the big league roster at any point. But yeah, dude's a fucking tank. And when he hit that homer, man, that might have been the loudest I yelled at a spring training game since Judge went deep, kind of a similar homer in 2017, spring against the Phillies. Now, that one was at home, but it was just like, these prospects, dude, when you don't really see them too much, because I don't watch many minor league games, but when you see them and hearing so much about them and you finally get to visualize it, it's like a, what's the word, tangibilization of the prospect in a way. Like they're real. Like this Dominguez dude is a fucking beast. But I think Pirates fans are gonna love him, Pat. I think they will. They're gonna love this kid because he's gonna be Brian Reynolds in July. So
yeah.
Sorry, Jason.
Yeah, no. I'm kind of in the same boat. When I forgot, I think it was the Yankees that posted the Dominguez home run. Kind of being the devil's advocate that I am, I replied and I was like, "Yo, Hicks is still better, bro." People were like, "Yo, Bat, you're so stupid." I can't get too hype over spring training home runs. Like it's cool that Jasson Dominguez is a real person, and he can hit home runs in spring training. It does nothing for me just because I'm in the boat where it's like, yo, unless you're producing at a high level at AAA. I'm kind of pushing you to the back burner. You know what I mean? I can't get too hype over prospects that are mashing in spring training or mashing in AA or single A. It's cool. And it's a great sign for the future. But until they do it at a higher level, I can't get myself too excited because I'm so focused on the major league product. And I think Brian Reynolds, I think that argument is 100% fair.
If there's one thing you are, bro, it's fucking consistent, man. You really are. You don't care about the past. You don't care about and I say this in a good way. What you just said is so consistent with what you are. You don't necessarily care about the future. You care about the current and present team.
Yeah,
And
and
I get
that's
that.
exactly why I'm trading Dominguez for Reynolds. Also, I mean, you saw what the extension that Reynolds wants. It's like 8 years,
Nothing.
130 million. Bro,
18 million a year. 18
come
million a
on,
year.
dude.
Fucking ridiculous. I'm serious. I think Brian Reynolds will be a Yankee. Did trade for him at MLB The Show franchise last night, by the way.
I
But
mean, unless Aaron Hicks rakes,
Pat, you're a funny guy. But yo, Dominguez, you're a baller. As
Yeah,
I saw
shout
him
out
round second
Dominguez,
base,
bro.
as I saw him rounding second base, I swear to God, like it was just Brian Reynolds flashing my eyes. I was like, yeah, that's my fucking left fielder. Not you, Jason, but that motherfucker in Pittsburgh.
But yo, I will say, if you're not planning on ever trade, like if he's untouchable in the Yankees' eyes, start him in left field this season. You know what I mean? Because it's like, bro,
He's
at this
definitely
point,
fucking good though. Like he really
sure,
is.
sure. Yo, Clay Holmes season preview.
Let's
Want to
do
get
it.
into it?
Yeah.
This is the second one of the episode here. We did Donaldson first. Now we're gonna hit Holmes. Overall, I think Clay Holmes is pretty interesting going into the season, just because we saw so many ups and downs from him last year. After being the dominant, 2021 Clay Holmes, and also like entering 2022, it's one of the most dominant relievers I've ever seen.
Dude, not even just
and
entering
then
2022, 38 appearances. I want to read the stat. His first 38 appearances, 0.46 ERA in 22.
stupid.
Fucking nuts.
Stupid. It was like, and then it was a very much like a Chapman like fall off, where I mean you couldn't even trust him throwing in a game at all. So Dan, where are you kind of like viewing Clay Holmes' role in the 2023 Yankees? Is he the closer?
He is the closer. And I'll say this, no doubt in my mind, Clay Holmes, one of the best relievers in the American League. Now, we mentioned that first half. It was until July 12th. Remember that Reds game, Pat, that he blew?
Yeah, that was one of the worst games of all time.
Yeah, and you could also kind of point to that as like the line of demarcation between the greatest team of all time, Yankees, and then the shit show Yankees. But anyways, he had a 10.45 ERA the next 11 games, including that July 12th appearance. Went on the IL, whether we know it was legitimately a back issue or not, or just a phantom IL. Remember that? Like we were all kind of, who knows if he actually hurt. Regardless, though, he came back. And when he came back, Pat, including the playoffs, in his final 20 and 2/3 innings, he pitched to a 2.17 ERA, 13 hits, 21 batters struck out in 20 innings. He was, I don't want to say that, not the first half guy, but the very least, Clay Holmes was a good, in my opinion, what I consider to be the most trusted reliever in the Yankees bullpen right now.
He was solid in the playoffs too, if I remember correctly.
Maybe tied with Mike King. Well, that was including playoffs. That was when he came back from the IL in late September and including the playoffs, 2.17 ERA in 20 innings. And even before seeing those stats, because I looked them up today, I remember saying, Clay Holmes, maybe he's not 100% that guy that he was in the first half, but he looks right around 85%. So I trust Clay going into this year as a Yankee closer. The only thing that concerns me a little bit is, and this goes for all pitchers, obviously, the release point for him just seems so critical because that sinker, and we saw this is what kind of happened with him last year, when his release point is just the slightest bit off, the sinker just appears to be toast. And when Clay Holmes doesn't have a sinker, well, he's working on adding more pitches, but when he doesn't have a sinker, he's not really Clay Holmes anymore. So if there's a concern, it's that. And I guess the help too, whether that back stuff was legit or not, I don't know. But to me, no question, Clay Holmes is still, he's one of the best relievers in the American League.
Yeah, no, I think everything you said there is fair. However, I'm looking at his role for 2023, and I think that it's interchangeable. And I think that the Yankees kind of learned from last season that they don't necessarily need a closer. I don't think Clay Holmes is necessarily going to be the Aroldis Chapman closer that they originally signed. Just because I think baseball is changing, and I think that the Yankees have a different philosophy than they used to. And if they play matchups, bro. Like if Clay Holmes has better matchups in the 7th inning against the Blue Jays, they'll use him there rather than in the 9th. You know what I mean?
And
so I think that,
sorry, I keep cutting you off, but it's nice the fact that we don't have big money tied to any late inning relievers for numerous reasons. But also, I'm sure that kind of went into the fact that, the Yankees seem to give Chapman a pretty damn big leash because he was their closer. They gave him $86 million, gave him a new contract after he was going to opt out in 19. Whereas with Clay Holmes and everybody in the bullpen, they're all under their rookie control contract. So they're all kind of on even footing when it comes to the financial side of things too. So I think Clay is definitely the guy, but the leash, and this is a good thing if he struggles, won't be, or it'll be short because the guys behind him can do just as good of a job likely. The Yankee bullpen is phenomenal.
Bro, you have probably 4 or 5 guys in that Yankee bullpen that can be a closer, right?
Bro, let's go through them. I mean, we saw.
I'm looking at a guy. Yeah, no, I was gonna say I'm looking at a guy like Wandy Peralta, and he could be. We saw in the postseason, he could be one of the most dominant closers in baseball. So it's like
Trevino, Loizaga, King, Marinaccio. They say like the best stuff out of anybody in the pen. Canely. The Yankees have a very, very good pitching staff as a whole, And as we've stated, their depth is kind of an issue, but not in the pen.
Yeah, no, the pen's
Yeah.
ridiculous. But yeah, so a little over under here. We only have one for Holmes, but
Tough for
29 and a
Holmes, by
half
the
hit.
way. I didn't really know where to go.
29 and a half saves. He had 20 last year, so you think he's gonna hit over or under that?
I'll go over. Don't really care about saves, but for an over-under purposes, it's kind of tough to come up with one for a reliever. But I'll go over only because I do have him as the Yankees' main closer, and if he's healthy, the opportunities definitely get over 30. So yeah, over.
I have him at under. Like I said, I mean, this kind of sticks with what I said that I thought his role was going to be. I don't think he's going to be like the definite closer, especially if we see any
Right.
sort of like hiccup. So I think, yeah, he probably gets somewhere similar to what he got last year, probably around like 20-25. I think 30 is a lot for a guy that I'm not expecting to be the primary closer. I mean, primary closer is a very like loose term. While I do think he'll probably be the primary closer, I think that there's going to be other guys that are going to be getting that opportunity too.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean anything about his year
Yeah.
too. Like last year, 20 saves, and he still finished with a 2.54 ERA. So like this year, you could have 10 saves, and I'll have a 1.5 ERA because maybe the Yankees never have save situations. That's why it's a very like arbitrary stat. I don't really put too much stock into it. But bottom line is, I have Clay Holmes having a damn good year in 2020.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, no reason to think otherwise, unless he has like struggles like he did last year. But good Yankee, bad Yankee, Dan.
Good Yankee. Actually, I met Clay one time. Shout out Tone the Slab. And good dude, good guy. Seems to enjoy being a Yankee. And he was an all-star last year too, right? Obviously, but that's good. So yeah, I was just thinking about it. I was like, I remember there were some red carpet pictures of Clay Holmes, and of course he would be an all-star. So I'm sure he definitely was. But yeah, nothing but love for Clay Holmes. And his interviews always seem cool. Like he always, like last year, the issue with the playoffs when he wasn't putting back-to-back games, he was pretty pissed, and I love to see that shit. So the dude likes. He cares about winning, and he's a likable dude, and he's pitched well. Good ass Yankee.
Yeah, I'll say good Yankee. But I think it also depends on like what day you ask me. Like, bro, if you would have asked me this in July of last year, Yankee, bro, I probably would have said bad Yankee. You know what I mean?
Let's say August of last year because July.
Sure. But you know me, I'm more of a what have you done for me lately kind of guy. So yeah, but as of right now, good Yankee. Last topic of the episode. Biggest takeaway from the Yankees' first few spring training games. Just kind of throw something out there that I guess we haven't talked about.
Yeah, so outside of what we already talked about, I have a few, but the main one, dude, Andres, I think this is how you say it, Andres Chaparro, not a top 10 prospect for the Yankees, not a top 20 prospect, but 23 years old, Venezuelan kid. I consider him to be the most underrated prospect in the system. Raked in Double-A last year, hit 296, 20 homers, 962 OPS over 74 games. This dude hit an absolute bomb. Not many may have seen it because it was on the Blue Jays broadcast during the split squad on Sunday. An absolute bomb, very similar actually to the Jasson homer, left center field was a no doubter. This dude can rake, Pat. Now he's pretty much already conquered Double-A. He probably will start this year in Triple-A, I would assume. He's very underrated, man, and he's exciting to watch. He had in the Arizona Fall League, Pat, he had a 117 mile an hour double, which for those who don't know, only since StatCast came a thing in 2015, only 45 big league players have hit a ball to that velocity. So this kid can rake, dude. And it's just crazy that he's not in their top 20. So seeing him go deep was cool. I won't say my other one because you might use it, but also shout out my boy Ryan Garcia wrote a really good article on Andres Chaparro. I'll link it down in the description. But yeah, that's mine.
Yeah, my main one is Aaron Hicks getting booed. I know we touched on this very early in the episode, but not really at length. Yeah, bro, I saw Brian Hoke tweeted out that Aaron Hicks, I think it was Brian Hoke, shout out Brian Hoke, that Aaron Hicks was getting booed during his first at bat. I just find that like stupid. I get like fans have a right to boo players, and I get it if it's like the game 5 of the ALDS and Hicks strikes out with bases loaded or like a big moment and you want to boo him, like he's performing poorly all season. Sure, bro, I view spring training as the definition of a clean slate. Aaron Hicks is on the team. He will probably be the Yankees starting left fielder. I am rooting for this man to do very, very well this season. No shift. We know what he's capable of. Now, whether or not he could do it this season, time will tell. Am I hopeful? Yes. But am I going into the season with an open mind? Yes. And I think Yankee fans should do so. So yeah, I was a little bit upset at Aaron Hicks being booed on day 1 of spring training.
Yeah. Annoying. I get it, but I just personally find it annoying. I'm not like annoyed at anybody for doing it, but
yeah,
also,
it's not something we would do.
Yeah, it's like weird for me to how I want to describe it. It does bother me, but it's just like can't necessarily blame people. Also, Brandon Cootie, who also initially tweeted something about it, he ended up taking his tweet down because he said it was just like a one main group of like losers doing that. Take that as you will. I don't know. I mean, Hicks is we know the story. Hicks and Donaldson, like unless they perform, they're gonna get booed, which is the case really with every player. Yo, let's get the fuck out of here, Pat. Good episode today. Yo, who do you want to do on Friday's episode?
We
should talk about Cole. Have we done Cole yet?
No, let's do Cole.
Let's do Cole. Guys, maybe comment down below who's the second guy you want to see. Don't
position
say
player.
Yeah, position player, but not Judge. He's too important.
Most liked one gets done. Let's go.
Yeah, word. All right, Pat. Where can they find you?
Twitter and TikTok at Unhinged Patrick, and then Instagram at True Hennessy.
Word up. Dan Unwork on Twitter. Dan Unwork on Instagram. Subscribe here on YouTube. See you guys next time. Let's go Yankees.
Her body's gold like September. She burns through the night like an ember. And all those things we try forgetting, I remember. But we say we all fine, we all fine.